Good evening and welcome councillors and officers to this meeting of Weymouth Town Council on Wednesday the 14th of January, and I now declare this meeting open. Apologies for absence. We've received apologies from Councillor Orell and Councillor Weller. Has anybody else got any apologies? And therefore, as we normally do, I'd like to propose and ask the Deputy Vice Chairman to second. All in favour of accepting the apologies? And I think it's unanimous, Chair. Thank you. To receive declarations of interest, we've had no pre-notified declarations of interest. Are there any tonight?
But none have been pre-notified and there are no dispensations pending.
We don't need to vote on that. So we go now to item number 4. The officer's recommendation is that the members approve the minutes of the meeting held on the 26th of November as a true and accurate record and agree that they be signed as such. Are all councillors content with contents that they're true and accurate? Therefore, I'd like to propose and ask the Vice Chairman to second that they be approved and signed as such. All those in favour? That is unanimous, Chair. Thank you. Right, so we now come to item 5. I would just like to start this by saying that, as you all know, that when a councillor asks a question or makes a statement, they will be given an answer, but it is not an invitation at this meeting to enter in any debate about their question. So I believe Councillor Atkinson, you would like to take the floor.
Thank you, Chair. After considering the budget for 2026-27, the Labour Group is concerned about the likely level of annual increase in precept for subsequent years. So our question centres on setting up systems to assure transparency and accountability of Weymouth Town Council for those years to mitigate that risk. The basic question for which supplements arises: what system of project management does Weymouth Town Council use? Is it PRINCE2 or some other widely accepted approach? We suggest that all capital expenditure on projects above £5,000 should follow PRINCE2 or an equivalent with clear objectives, milestones and costs. The project office should report monthly in writing to a line manager. The line manager should then report to a council committee in writing at appropriate frequency, such as once or twice a year, depending on the time scale of the project. A project using this system should be initiated to survey taxpayers to determine which services they value most highly, so future budgets optimised accordingly. We consider a similar approach should be adopted in a quinquennial review of all services in rotation to comply with standing orders. Using a similar management system, targets for income generation from services, including parks and gardens, and from other innovative ideas should be set and increased incrementally each year. In our view, the benefits demonstrates transparently that the budget is optimised to preset payers' priorities, to enhance job satisfaction for officers, knowing they are delivering an optimised service, and provide an example of excellent financial planning, control and management in a town council. And I'd like to finish by saying this question should not be construed as essentially a criticism of officers. We seek that all officers and councillors work as one for a much needed review of budget priorities and economies. We must strive together to deliver optimum value for preset payers' priorities without substantial annual tax increases in future years. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Atkinson. And may I ask the Town Clerk to respond?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Council uses APMP, the Association of Project Management Principles and Training, which is equivalent to PRINCE2. Not all capital projects require such detailed management. For example, the installation of a new piece of play equipment. To force all projects to have this sometimes excessive level of oversight will impact officers' capacity to meet all draws on their time and work efficiently. Project management mechanisms should remain a remit of our managers who manage those projects. The ability of officers to manage their work to the required standard is not a budgetary consideration. Officers have regular one-to-one meetings with their managers and project groups, and there are regular project management meetings already. There is no need for any additional meetings, which would again impact officers' capacity to meet all draws on their time and work efficiently. Committees already receive regular reports on projects. Councillors should be aware that the council already conducts an annual resident survey, which includes feedback and ideas regarding our services, and the next one is scheduled to be going out in about 3 weeks' time. The senior leadership team have already shared with group leaders a paper entitled Planning with Purpose regarding service planning and review, and this will be refined before going before all councillors. The review cycle will be every 4 years from 2029 to fall in line with our all-out elections. And I have sent a copy of that paper to all councillors today for your information. Income generation sits with the income generation working group, and any questions regarding that should be referred to them. And the councillor members of that group are Councillor Weller, Councillor Nickinson, Councillor Furman and Councillor Civil. Job satisfaction for officers would be greatly enhanced by councillors trusting them to do the roles they currently carry out to an already high level, showing respect for their efforts and not putting in unnecessary controls based on assumptions that will reduce efficiency and have effective morale. The council already has excellent financial planning, financial and other controls and management systems, as evidenced by our audit results, project successes, and Weymouth Town Council consistently being held as an exemplar to other councils. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Right, we now move on to item 6, which is my mayor's announcements. I hope you won't find it too boring if I just recall to you what I've done on behalf of the council and the town since our last meeting. The first event for me was the annual dinner of the Weymouth and Portland Chamber of Commerce, which was followed shortly afterwards by taking part in switching on the Christmas lights on the tree in Millennium Square outside the Range. This was very well attended and packed with elves, following most elves in the conference. Thank you to the officers and staff who together with We Are Weymouth helped organise the tree and other lights. I then visited the Tudor House and was taken back in time with music and demonstrations depicting a Tudor Christmas, and I think I'd much rather have our money. Later that day, I went back to Millennium Square for the carols by the coast. My grateful thanks to the officers for organising this and to the Salvation Army Band for accompanying the singing and for their tambourine dance sequence. It was particularly good to have 2 donkeys there who tamed impeccably. Sadly, they missed the carol Little Donkey as they were delayed in traffic, something that would not have happened in Bethlehem. A very big thank you to Melanie and the West Hill donkeys for attending. The following day was the Mayor of Burwood Civic Day, which was the most interesting talk about the potteries there, which I never knew existed, and which were the major employers in the town in years gone by. I then visited the Holy Trinity Church in Weymouth to view the Christmas tree competition, where organisations from across the town decorated a tree, which were then on view over the Christmas period. I was asked to select a winner, which was incredibly difficult as the standard was extremely high, with a great deal of thought going into them. I then attended the World Mars Light Up a Life service, which was held this year in the Ocean Room at Weymouth Pavilion. Originally, these services were held at Brewers Quay, which was not possible at present due to the building works. In recent years, the weather has not been kind, and it was moved into this indoor venue, which was an excellent decision as the room was packed. And the service obviously meant so much to so people. It was a particularly poignant evening for me, having established these services for Weldmar over 25 years ago, and I had the privilege of giving the welcome address. I was delighted to be invited to join officers to select the charities which will have their colours displayed on the Jubilee clock this forthcoming year. It was great fun to attend Conifer School for the opening of their Christmas fair, and later I attended Way Valley Academy, helping to present prizes for their pupils. You may well have seen a large display of Christmas stockings hanging on the railings of the Jubilee clock just before Christmas, each one representing a child in foster care at Dorset. I was invited by Dorset Council to attend this event to publicise the needs for foster carers. Once again, I was invited to Weymouth Angling Club, which this time was to present the Junior Angling Prizes. This club must be commended for the amazing work they're doing with their junior section, helping develop a real interest in their young members. Just prior to Christmas, I was invited to the reopening of Hope House, attached to St John's Church, a youth centre which is a very special place for our young people. The work there is to be commended. This was followed by a celebration of their work and carols in the church. As honorary president of the Lifeboat, I was delighted to attend their carol service on the quay, which was extremely well attended, and once again the Salvation Army band were there to accompany us. I was also so looking forward to the Christmas Day swim, but the weather was dire, and sadly even the most proficient sea swimmers struggled in the first heat, and very sensibly the event had to be called off. Thanks, however, must go to the Lions and everyone else who helped with Enfield Freedom and the safety canoes who put in so much effort into organising this day, even though they didn't have them. My final event of 2025 was the finale of the Towns of Culture, when myself and the Mayor of Portland handed over the baton to the Mayor of Wimborne for the forthcoming year. A very big thank you to everyone involved in the past 12 months. What a tremendous amount of work went in, and what great fun was had. May I end by thanking Councillor Harris for attending the Weymouth Choral Society concert and chasing the Christmas pudding event on the beach in my absence. Finally, I was delighted to be able to support the Dorset Echo Christmas Toys appeal, the Weymouth Food Bank, the Samaritans and the Salvation Army through the Mayor's Christmas appeal. May I remind you of two events that are upcoming. First of all, on the 27th of January, we have the memorial ceremony around the Holocaust tree in Radipole Gardens. And then on Friday, the 10th of April, I will be holding my charity function, which is a charity 60-70s disco at the Centenary Club. And I would urge you all please to come and support this worthwhile cause, Welkmar, which supports so many of our residents in this town. There will be prizes for fancy dress, and I also would like to make an appeal for raffle prizes. Thank you very much. Councillor
Sorry, just to say that I think Councillor Dickinson, Joanna Dickinson wanted to say something in a previous item, but missed the slot. So if you're happy just to go back and allow Councillor Dickinson to speak.
Yeah, I'm very sorry about this, because I'm getting over a virus, so I'm hoping I can say all this without coughing and spluttering. And basically, the town clerk and I are working on Armed Forces Week end in June, because I want to take it forward. And on my behalf, she went to a meeting in Bovington, and she actually talked to the people there about these plans for the future. What was lovely was we were given a certificate of appreciation for support for Operation Lazarite, and that involves the Afghan resettlement programme at Chickle Camp. And we've been supporting that in the background in my role and with the help of the town clerk. So I thought you might all like to see that and see that, you know, things do go on in the background. It's only a little certificate, but we're quite proud of it, aren't we, Jen? So I thought you'd like to see that. So, and I'm very glad I've said that without coughing. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. Right, we now turn to agenda item 7, update from Dorset councillors. Has have any of the Dorset councillors got an update for us? Sorry, Councillor Difford.
Thank you. It's just a heads up that the Dorset Council, like this council, is about to go through its budget process. The two scrutiny committees on 19th of January, which today were in the paper imminent. So it'd just be useful if everyone read through, and if they had questions to ask, raise them through your local councillors, and they'll get asked at the various scrutiny things before we head for the full council, which is on the 10th of February, where we can then go disco dancing afterwards.
The 10th of April, by. Yeah, you've got a little bit of time to practice. Thank you. Any other Dorset councillors? No, then I'll move on to agenda item 8, public questions. No public questions have been received ahead of this meeting, and as there's no members of the public here, we'll now move on to agenda item 9. Before I ask Ian Milne to introduce this report, can I please ask you to note that when we come to voting, there are 2 recommendations, and we will be taking each one individually and in that order. Thank you. Ian, would you like to?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll just do a brief introduction for now, just to confirm the process we've undertaken to get here. Members will be aware of various stages to the budget process, which have included the budget working group meeting with managers to scrutinise the budgets, which was done, and that resulted in a slight saving on the overall budgets. And I'm pleased to say that that scrutiny process was actually a very good day. It was a long day, but thank you to those members who gave up their time to do that during that budget working group. We've also had a couple of meetings where we've had a look at the priorities of the council, where the funding is going to be required to ensure that our assets remain fit for purpose, and there's enough funding where we are able to undertake the priorities that this council feel are important, which fits with its strategies and plans. And there was two of those meetings. Challenges provided quite right in the first one. We came back at the second one, and we had quite a good discussion at that second meeting. And then obviously the budget then went to Finance and Governance Committee, where it was again very good debate was had there, and the proposal which members have in their papers is that recommendation as per the Finance and Governance Committee. Just to note that obviously, although officers are here to help facilitate the budget is yours as councillors. And as officers, I'd just like to thank all of those councillors involved in all of those processes, which have made it very worthwhile process this year. And there are a number of councillors who've been involved in the working group and F&G and those other meetings who will be able to input if anybody needs enough clarification on certain things. But it probably feels appropriate, Madam Mayor, to hand over to the Chair of Finance and Governance, just to add something from the council's perspective.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I'll try not to repeat what Ian has said as much as possible, but yeah, just to reiterate the process we've gone through to come to this budget was a cross-party budget working group, which met with the managers of all departments, reviewing literally every single line within the budget, and managers were challenged to justify their proposed requests, and many of them were subsequently reduced through that process. The recommendations from the working group went to a budget cafe process to which all members of the council were invited, and subsequently the budget was approved by the Finance and Governance Committee just before Christmas by a significant majority, 8-2, I believe. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank the SLT, the managers of the departments, and all who contributed to this lengthy and at times aging process so far. And as such, I would like to propose both motions as written to full council, please.
So can I have a second for that, please?
I'd like to second.
Thank you.
Chair.
Right, I'd now like to open this floor for debate. I think Councillor Dunn.
No, I was signalling the second.
Right, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman. Last year, myself and the Conservative group supported the budget fully. But I made a point in that support of that budget that there will be no blank checks or rubber stamping from my group for future budgets without serious review of certain areas. Since then, we've continued to expand things such as Tumbledown Farm and continue and expand CE spending. Now we are asking for a 10% increase of the precept, which is well above the 3.2% current rate of inflation. While I commend the savings and investment part of this budget, the waste still continues in plain sight in certain areas. I find that this is very much a catch-up budget, and the first council's quickly motivated decisions to cut or freeze council tax while increasing funding and their remits. We must get back to basics and must get back to the role of a proper town council without the waste and the excess. Tumbledown is currently being reviewed, but is still budgeted to cost us around £70,000 for another year, miles away from the £200,000 it was expected to be making a part of its original business plan by this point. Therefore, with notice to the chairman of F&G, who I have very much great professional respect for and personal affection, I will be putting forward the below amendments. That is to remove and abolish the £10,000 earmarked CE grant fund and put the money back into reserve, and a service review within 9 months from the 14th of January 2026 of the council CE spending strategy. For the Conservative group, this would be a signal that this council is serious about reviewing wastage and unnecessary spending, and would signal to us that the council is serious and would gain our support for the budget being approved. Thank you, and I'm happy for both of those amendments to be taken separately when it comes to the vote.
If I can just ensure that I get the correct wording, so.
I think I did, I did write it in advance as well, so
The first was
just
to,
copy and paste.
Councillor Dickens.
I'd just
I
like
won't
to.
have access to that. Would you like me to? Jane, do you want me to read it out? Because I'm looking.
Put that in touch.
is that,
Activity and spend. Thank you.
Councillor Dickens.
I'd just like to second this as part of the Local Government Act is that all councils will spend money in a, hang on, I've got to get it right.
Value for money.
Value for money. And there's certain elements that need looking at and are not giving this council value for money. So I'd very much like to second this.
Councillor Hunt.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I will be voting against the Conservative Group amendment as it has been announced this evening. It is a political move and I think a cloak and dagger way to just vote against the whole budget. So fingers can be pointed at the rest of this council. That's my personal view. The reason mainly I'll be voting against it is we're actually taking £10,000 away from our communities as a way that they can apply for funds to deliver community activities that are benefiting the environment. And I think that would be a bad move to take away available money to community groups and charities within our local community.
Anybody else wish to make a comment? Councillor Northern.
Thank you. I'm minded of that phrase. Somebody who knows the cost of everything and the value of nothing. And I fear that, again, focusing on 10K as a cost and not considering the value that that offers is a serious oversight. We should are here to provide services and benefits to our residents, and it isn't just about how much things cost. So I would be voting against. Thank you.
Councillor Sue.
Thank you very much. I have no issue with the council agreeing to review anything, to be perfectly honest, unless we have prohibited that review by standing orders, i.e. we've made a decision in the previous 6 months and it's too soon for it to come back. So that element of it, I'm minded to vote for that element because I don't see that there's any downside per se. In terms of the CEE grant itself in this year's budget, I understand it's a budget line, so proposals can be made, but personally I feel that the right way to do that is via the Environment and Services Committee and let that committee, which agrees that funding, we've not plucked 10K out the air. The council, in whether over a number of years, has agreed that that's what we would do, that its work on CEE would be funded, and that's the amount that we would fund it. I'd also highlight that we've not spent that 10K in recent years. We're not even close to the full amount. So whilst it is a budget line, it's not we will be spending it. So nothing is, I don't like the word, I don't believe anything is wasted. The council, by the committee process, approves grants as and when they come in to apply for that specific funding. If they didn't apply for that specific funding, it would go into the main grant pot, one would imagine. That's it. Thank you.
Councillor Todd.
On behalf of the CEE group and this £10,000 grant, we as a group we were sort of working without direct officer involvement for several years, and many of the things we wanted to do or put in place we couldn't do because we didn't have an officer to spend the time researching necessary things. And so the grant hasn't been used because we haven't had the sort of steerage into where projects that we could add the most benefit to could be found within the town. And now that we have a person in place, we will have the calls upon that pot, I believe, quite soon. Thank you.
Yes, just to come back on a few things, come back from councillor Hopes, who never fails to turn something into a political debate. He said that I've made this as an excuse not to vote for the budget. I voted for the budget last year that you didn't vote for your own party's budget, so we've actually voted for the same number of budgets on this council as each other after tonight, I assume. We've made it very clear, we're happy to work as a group within the council on various things, but we cannot continue to support increases on the precept where there are certain things that we do not believe we should be funding, or we have raised in the past that continue to be funded that we don't think should be once again. And we feel that, for instance, Tumbledown, a raises last year, sadly, the review didn't come in time for this budget line, so we're going to fund it again. And I will await the review on Tumbledown, but I'm afraid it is our group's position that this council is spending money on things it shouldn't be. And that is our job to represent our resident views we feel, and I respect any member that doesn't vote with us tonight, but that's the point I'll be making. And I continue, we'll continue to raise that point as we go on, but thank you.
Councillor Clifford and then Councillor Sue.
It's, I've listened to both sides of the argument. I mean, no one ever supports everything in the budget. There always seems to be like things that you have to put up with in order for the greater good. Can I just ask the town clerk to give us an idea in a bit of context? So what is £10,000 in as a proportion of our budget?
I shall defer to the financially trained, to my left, but the precept is slated for 4,375,000. So 10,000 is very small with my non-financial head on, and
0.002.
0.002. So I mean, if you vote against the budget because you semi-support 99+% of it, but you don't want to support the very last 0.002, I think that's a poor way of demonstrating you're looking for the best for Weymouth.
Councillor Surley.
Councillor Dickinson and the Conservative group used the phrase value for money, which is almost impossible to define, really. But I'm interested in the examples. We've heard Tumbledown, but you seem to hint at other things that you specifically had sort of in the back of your mind that were not value for money. I'd like some examples.
But the example is, if I may answer, yeah. Thank you very much, Chair. Tumbledown over the last 5 years has cost £500,000. It was supposed to raise money. It's actually raised £45,000.
At a loss.
At a loss. So that's where we are on that.
So it's Tumbledown, really.
And see.
And the CE group, because they run it. So there's my
See.
if I may, Chair, Madam Clerk, the CE group doesn't
No.
manage Tumbledown. It's a separate function of the council, like Parks and Gardens, cemeteries and offices.
Yeah, responding to Councillor Clifford, yes, it's a small part. What I've said in my original speech was it is a symbol that council is serious about cutting other bits of waste. If I actually was able to make the amendment in time in regards to the budget process and wasn't constrained by the timeframe, I would have included Tumbledown as part of it, and I would include the whole of the CE spend, hence why I'm calling a review for it, and Tumbledown is a review. The Conservative group needs to see that this council is serious about reviewing these areas, and the £10,000 is a clear indication of our opinion. And you said working for the best of Weymouth. You know, I'm not going to accuse you of not working for the best interest of your residents. That's up to you, and that's your electors will hold you accountable, as mine will hold me accountable. I'm not going to question your motives, and I ask if you don't question mine. What, like value for money, what's best for Weymouth is of different people's opinions. It's my opinion that spending money on climate change is not good value for money for a town council, or something that we should actually be doing. especially something called an emergency fund or an emergency committee that's gone on for 5 years.
Councillor Middleton.
I'm happy,
You're happy, good.
and that's been said.
Councillor Taylor.
I've got just a quick question for councillor Dickinson. Can I ask, so you come out with all the figures and
Some figures.
some of the figures, the basic figures that everyone got access to. How do you evaluate in financial terms the community benefit?
The community, which community?
The community benefit that uses Tumbledown, and I mean the whole community,
Well, first of all, is it all Weymouth Town Council residents?
well, I'm asking you the question.
Well, I think there's far more better groups that could run Tumbledown a damn sight better than what's being run at the moment. So the benefit would be more.
So you haven't got any figures that you'd like to put to that?
I don't think, how can you put figures on that?
Well, this is, I think,
Yeah.
where.
So I'm
Excuse me.
I'm just trying to say, oh, well, we're talking across each other, sorry.
Sorry, we need to talk through them.
Yeah. People talk through the chair.
Yeah, sorry.
I would just like a financial amount put onto the community benefit, as in the amount of groups that are using Tumbledown and the financial benefits of them. We can't just look at the amount of money that this council spends on it. Because if we did that, we'd be back to the cost of everything and the value of nothing. And I think the value of Tumbledown is quite high.
I can answer that.
Right.
So Tumbledown Farm, roughly on a Monday is about 6 people plus 3 kids. On a Tuesday. Nothing on a Tuesday, 3 people according to this. A Wednesday, forest school and a 6th form. Thursday, 6 people in a forest school. Friday, volunteers day, a maximum of 29 people. We're spending £29,000, £72,000 next year. And we spent £70,000 odd last year on a very small number of people. It's not our opinion Tumbledown should be turned into a housing estate. It's our opinion that a voluntary group could better run Tumbledown than this council is currently running it and take it on from what we had developed it. It's not that Tumbledown's a bad thing. It's the fact that Tumbledown, we don't feel is something that should be run by the council. And that is what's part of the review. And I've made that known in the working group on the review, which I've taken part in. What we're currently saying is this council needs to assess some of this spend and actually ask, is it what the town council should be doing, especially when they're asking for a 10% increase in the precept, way above inflation.
Councillor Third.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick question. So under number 2, it's got the review of CEE activities. You've mentioned Tumbledown quite a lot. And the town clerk has emphasised that Tumbledown is not run by CEE. So I just want to be clear on what this review is targeting.
May I answer through the chair?
And I think
Just then, Councillor Third.
Sorry. It is, Councillor O'Leary. And I would say, as a note, and I won't raise a point of order, but usually in proceedings, the proposer and the seconder have the right to either start or finish the debate, not continually, and that's not because people are asking questions, but if we could, for the sake of the debate, save those answers or allow the proposer and seconder to be able to save those answers so we can have a more succinct and formal debate, because at the moment, Councillor Dickinson was right, it ends up going back and forth, Chair, if I could make that plea to the room.
Thank you very much. Yes. Councillor Northern.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like us to come to a close in this debate. I keep hearing Tumbledown Farm. Normally, I'm the one talking about Tumbledown Farm in terms of the benefit it brings. I'm disappointed that other people cannot see that benefit. Figures have been quoted. There are loads of figures in this budget that's been pointed out. And I'd also like to suggest that we're no longer talking about the amendment that has been proposed, and we should be focused on that. There's no mention in that amendment of Tumbledown Farm. Just to go back to that, Parks and Open Spaces spends £900,000 per annum on staff. Tumbledown spends 90k on staff. Tumbledown raises 20k per annum. I don't know what the Parks and Gardens raise. We don't expect it to raise any money. So we're picking out numbers totally at random, and actually what's on the table is to remove the 10k CE grant and hold a review. We're already holding a review of Tumbledown. I suggest we move to a vote, please.
Councillor Sewell.
Thank you. Apologise if I don't have this verbatim, but I'd quite like to disassociate myself, and I hope the rest of the council, from the statement that it could be run a damn sight better than it is. I think that's unnecessary and an insult to the council staff that do run that to the best of their ability. Could we do more with it? Are there other alternatives? Could we do more to promote it? Of course we could. The same applies to all of the assets that we run. There are different ways to look at things. So let's let the existing tumble down review go through its due process, report to the Environment and Services Committee, see what that committee comes up with, and as a council, we move forward. And frankly, if we here agree to the amendment to the CEE review, reiterating my earlier point that there is no harm in reviewing anything, we are quite clearly showing as a council a commitment to review spending wherever that spending is.
Councillor Harris.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to point out one or two aspects of this. First of all, the £10,000. That's to enable communities to get involved in what they believe in, which is the green agenda. Because a lot of people are concerned with what is happening to this country and this world. So we didn't have people, as Councillor Toft said, we didn't have people to help us with this. But we do have a CEE action plan, which was approved by this council. And one of the things that that CEE action plan has as its priority is to get the community involved, where the community wishes to be involved in doing some of the things that we think are important to actually help save the climate of this world. Those things that are important for the community need support, because there are not many people in the community are able to take the initiative and go on without any funding, without any support, without any help. The officer that is now in charge of CEE has as a priority to try and encourage that community to get involved. If there is a grant available to that community to do certain things which will help that community, and I noticed there was something in today's paper which suggested that a community group was actually active in trying to help a community with solar panels and everything else, and really doing a very good job at helping that community do some of the things that it wanted to do. It wasn't being run by a private organisation, it was a community group supporting itself that was moving it forward. They often need that help. So that's the reason why I shan't be supporting removing the £10,000 CEE grant from that budget that we've got in front of us. Secondly, a review of CEE, we could have had that at any time. It's been there, the action plan has been there for 2 and 3 years. We have a working group of councillors and members of the public, the community. We've been told we need to ensure that the community supports our plans. That community comes to that action plan group that we have for CEE. I don't often see the Conservatives there. In fact, I don't know that I've seen them at the CEE working party, but it's met every month for about 4 years now. And that's where these plans came from. That's where these plans came to this council to support. Yes, of course, we should review things every now and again. As Councillor Wilkinson said, you know, we should be actually looking at things every now and again. Councillor Wilkinson. Atkinson, sorry. My mistake, I apologise for that. But let us therefore review things as and when we think there is a need to review things, but let us not take money away from the community that want it, that need it, that have got lots of ideas that they want to put forward and work on.
Councillor Atkinson.
I thought the thing I'm taking from this conversation really is that there may be quite a lot of support for reviewing a wide range of our services, which was what the Labour group said at the beginning. So I do feel that is an issue that we should return to. However, I will not be voting personally for those 2 amendments for the reasons that many Liberal Democrats have said, and therefore I'll leave it at that.
Councillor.
Summarise.
Yes, thank you very much. In regards to councillor Furman's point about why Tumbledown has been mentioned because it is part of the fund and spend that we think isn't appropriate use of the taxpayer money. But obviously, as a review, we haven't brought the amendment forward. But CE isn't either in regards to the fund other than the 10K because there are staffing costs allocated to it. In regards to councillor Harris's point on the CE action group, I joined that group when I come on the council and attended the first few of the couple of meetings. Quite frankly, I thought it was a better use of my time about dealing with my constituents as opposed to sat there with a group of what frankly is unelected residents directing council policy in certain areas. Some of them with an agenda which I wouldn't say is probably representative of the wider community. Why is a town council got a climate and ecological emergency committee when our actual job is to look after the parks, look after the gardens? We're not here to save the planet. I know there are lots of middle class people out there who want to save the planet using taxpayer money while they fly around in planes and holiday and drive diesel cars. But I'm afraid that's not why I was elected for. The Conservative group has been consistent in its opposition to certain things brought up, and we will continue to be so. So thank you, Madam Chairman, and I'm happy to move to a vote.
Can I ask you?
My apologies, Madam Mayor, and apologies to Councillor O'Leary, because I did raise this earlier. I think it's just worth clarifying exactly what the point one is there, just because of the wording, because there is a slight difference depending how you interpret it. And I just thought it might be useful to understand, is it to remove the £10,000 grant and put it back into the reserves, so there's no actual effect on the precept? Or are you taking the £10,000 out and reducing the precept?
As I said to you in the email, to just remove it, no effect on the precept. So it's a measure, it's not to reduce council tax, but
So it's
on the penny.
so it goes out into, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Still make pennies, don't they? Penny makes pounds.
Councillor O'Leary, can I just clarify?
Go on, drop it, you're
whether
right,
your two
okay.
amendments as you feel are to be taken jointly?
I'm happy for them to be taken separately.
Yeah, I'd like that.
Do you need a proposal for them to be taken separately? No, that's fine.
We had a proposal and seconded for both those points, so you can, call for the vote on the first point. On the removal £10,000 CE.
Fine. So can I ask you to vote then, please, on the removal, to remove the £10,000 CE grant and put the funds back into reserves? To have all those in favour, please?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Somebody who endorses it.
Against?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
And abstentions?
1.
Thank you.
So that is defeated.
Defeated. And then the next one is to
That the council commits to a review of CE activities and spend within 9 months of today's date.
So can I have all those in favour, please?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
Against?
1.
Abstentions?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that is carried.
So the first recommendation we have is that the full. Sorry, sorry, I should have asked, are there any further amendments to be made? Councillor Sigrid.
No, thank you.
Don't do that. Councillor Surrey.
Like, I mean, in reviewing the spend, it is possible surely to increase it as well as decrease it.
You can, of course you can.
Great.
In subsequent budget years.
Thank you.
Right, anybody else want to make a comment? Then I'll go on. So the first recommendation is that full council approve the proposed.
So just put it actually, are we going down to vote now on the budget or are we allowed to debate the budget?
I think she asked for debate.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, they
We
did
did
just
ask
ask for the.
Just ask for it.
Might be doing your laces though.
Does anybody, let's make sure we do this correctly, would anybody like to debate the budget? Councillor Hope.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. As Councillor O'Leary has pointed out, this time last year, I voted against the budget. And I voted against the budget for many reasons, but one, I felt it wouldn't deliver on the council's agenda and policy and strategic direction. This year, I'm pleased to support the budget because I think the budget working group and the CAPs have picked up on that exact point. And this budget now will allow our strategy documents, our visions and the things that this council's agreed become business as usual and let our officers get on with the job and the direction that we've set as a council. So 12 months ago, I said, no, this year the budget gets a thumbs up for me and we'll get my full support for that. But start to delivering on what we have agreed as a council and delivering for our residents.
Councillor O'Leary.
Yes, thank you very much. As I stated in the amendment debate, after the failure of both amendments, the failure of one amendment, which was a symbolic one, and the passing of the other, I cannot support the budget. Not because it's 10%, because I think, 10% does sound like a bad number, but the actual number itself is minuscule. But I'm afraid when I go out knocking on doors, I've got to answer to my constituents. If I'm voting to put up council tax, that you've got to do it with good value for money, as Councillor Dickinson described. And I'm afraid there are things this council is still running, and I'm afraid this council is playing catch up from previous administrations, actions. But I will come on to the positives. There are some really good things in this budget. Maiden Street toilets, for instance, is a good thing. We'll come on to the nursery later. I keep saying the wrong thing, what they call Lensman, I call say linesman, is a positive thing. And we can debate whether to have one or two, and I'm in favour of having two because it does deal with something that I've always raised and selected, which is sometimes our outer areas of this town are sometimes forgotten. And this isn't just a town council for the town centre, it's a town centre for the whole town. And it is getting back to basics in that regard with those posts. So there are things that are good about the budget and I do support, but I'm afraid, like I say, when I got on the doorstep, I can't vote for certain things that this council still funds in all good conscience. But I'd like to thank everybody who took part in the budget working group and the chairman of finance and government and all their work in for meeting me for a couple of hours in on a Thursday night, which I would wish on my worst enemy.
Councillor Norman.
I'd like to reserve my right to speak at the end of the debate. I second that, thank you.
Councillor Siddle.
Thank you. Councillor O'Leary's mentioned a couple of times that he feels that this is a catch-up budget. And whilst I can understand that statement, the alternative to not catching up in a budget is remaining behind. And surely in any world, that's a far from ideal situation to know that you are unfunded and to not make any changes to ensure that you are fully funded and delivering the priorities that all the members of this council have agreed to give, as my colleague Councillor Hope just mentioned, to give the officers the direction that they have asked for and we need. So I make no apologies for it being a catch-up budget. I wasn't on the previous council. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Val.
Oh, thank you. So Councillor O'Leary, I'm feeling a bit frustrated. It feels to me that you're generally criticising decisions made by the council. It feels like all the points you're making about the budget need to be made in committees. It needs to be made committee by committee, decision by decision, rather than at the annual budget meeting. It feels like the points you're making aren't related to the budget. I feel that we need, I feel that the points you're making aren't budget related. That's all I've got to say. It just feels like political posturing, and I feel like we need to concentrate on the budget.
Councillor Moore.
Sorry, I've referred, I suspect there'll be some other criticism.
I'm going to call point of order there. You can't keep coming back to councillors. We all get a chance to speak at a debate. We should hear the room first before we double up. Sorry, Chair, but
Yeah.
that is our standing.
Point taken.
Don't make me do that, Lee.
Councillor Taylor.
Can I just come back on this catch-up budget? I personally take exception to that. I was on the shadow council that actually set this council up and was a very major part of the budget setting when we originally put this council in place. Was it 6, 7 years ago? This is not a catch-up budget. if you'd like to spend some time with me, I'll explain how we set the budgets up in 2019 for this council. It is not a catch-up budget under any stretch of the imagination.
Anybody else? Councillor Gifford.
Just a quick comment. So I appreciate the final comment on page 4, which comes under inflation in the way that the council deals with inflation, which reads, this ensures value for money is made for consideration of budget holders when making. That is clearly what our officers do. I have had not a single solid example of where value for money hasn't been done by this council. And I fail to see how anyone could support 99.99% of the budget and then vote against it, but they don't like 0.012.
Before I ask Councillor O'Leary to come back, would anybody else like to make a point? Make a comment?
1.15 million, just saying.
I will be at the end, as I've reserved my mind.
Right. Councillor O'Leary.
In reply to some of the comments made, said that some of these things should be brought in committee. I have voted against a number of these things in committee. I haven't just voted for them at committee and then come to Fulton after actually, no, I've changed my mind, don't like them. For instance, some of us spend for Tumbledown and for CE in committee on HR, on environment services. I have voted no, so I do resent the accusation that I haven't been consistent in that. You may not like me, but I generally am consistent in my view, no matter how unpopular it is. So I do resent that as saying it is just something I've just come up with now. In regards to a catch-up budget, the previous administration spent 5 years cutting and freezing council tax while increasing services. It now has got to the point it has to spend out on a lot of things, big capital projects, and that's fine. But you can't cut council tax and increase spending without some repercussions at some point, which we're now facing. And that's not just my opinion, as others have made that point to me.
Excuse me, Mayor, if I can come back, I'm more than happy to have a meeting with you and explain how the budgets were originally set up.
Councillor Thurman, then Councillor Bowen, then Councillor.
Yeah, can I just draw us back to the debate of budget? We've talked about the, how can I put it politely? Just Councillor O'Leary's willingness to speak on what he believes is right, and he's entitled to do that. Councillor O'Leary, crack on. If he wants to do it his way, let him do it. We're here to discuss the budget. I can simply put it in these terms for you. We've looked at the budget, we've looked at business as usual. There is an increase on it that was required to ensure that business as usual can go ahead. Every year, we're running on an underspend. That means every year we get to the end, you know, we do the shopping in the supermarket and we realise we haven't spent all we wanted to because, you know, there's been some discounts and we're relying on that saving to spend next week. And we don't want to do that. No business would operate like that. You've got to work simply on the fact that we have these services that we want to deliver and we should budget for them appropriately. I believe what we've done in the working group is that exactly. We will then have perhaps an underspend at the end of the year that can be allocated to projects, to proposals, PIDs, anything else that begins with P. But what's important is we're setting out a budget that ensures from now until the end of time that we are delivering on our core services to our community. And what's really important is that we can, as a working budget group, every year look at it, or talk to those managers, discuss with those officers where we can make savings and develop efficiencies. And if we still have some money left over, great, let's plow it back into our community. But what this budget is doing is being really responsible. And hey, we have made hay in the sun for a number of years, but it's time to collect the harvest now and really be serious about what we want to do going forward. I believe that all of us would want that for our community, and I believe that our community wants that from us. So I'll be supporting the budget, and I hope that we can get to a vote outside the politics and deliver what we need to deliver.
Councillor Bowen, thank you, Councillor.
I think Councillor Firm has made his point very well. I've got nothing more to add. Thank you.
Councillor Howard.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. It seems that we're not using standing order 1.15 this evening, so I will speak twice also.
Point of order, 1.15. You should not be having the same person speak in an amendment. I'm sorry, it's not political. It's a rule, and it's there and it should be followed.
So
Madam Chair, I'd expect it to be followed, 'cause it's in our standing orders.
Right, I'm afraid councillor Hope must follow, now this has been brought up.
I can't pull him up.
you could do,
Sorry,
but
councillor.
chairman's discretion,
It's up to, yeah, it's made.
standing order does say at chairman's discretion, and the chairman has already granted this concession to other members, so.
You can't have enough to vote.
Anyway, I just want to come back again exactly on this change of the budget. So on average, most town councils around Dorset are raising anywhere between 10 and 25%. So we are not alone in a raise of this level. And the bottom line is, it's costing more to deliver services. Those that attended the budget cap and when deputy town clerk put the presentation up on the board, when this council was set up, around 30% of our costs was on staff. We're now 70%. And that's because the cost rises are out of the control of this council. We've not grown headcount drastically. We may be a few FTE up, but not drastically by double the amount of headcount. Everything is costing more. Now, the previous 5 years of the administration, we're lucky to set or freeze or reduce council tax. That's because when this council was set up, as Councillor Taylor's alluded to, we were set up with a top-heavy precept because of the balancing act with the changes from Weymouth and Portland into DC and a town and parish. And the first administration took the 5 years as an opportunity to try and level that playing field compared to other towns and parishes. Nothing to do with misbudgeting, and I think the whole chamber at the time supported that. So it's just a matter of facts. We are now higher in our running costs due to costs out of our control. And if we want to deliver for our residents, then we need to have money in the budget to deliver services, to deliver projects, to deliver improvements. If not, there's no point in this town council.
Now we will not allow, I will not allow any more councillors to come back. They've already spoken, apart from councillor Northern, who has reserved his right. So is there anybody else who hasn't spoken would like to say anything? Right, so councillor Northern.
Thank you, Chair, and both Councillor Hope and Councillor Bowman have said some of the things that I was going to say, so I'll keep it brief. I'd like to thank the officers for the review that they've done, and also all the staff who have worked within the budget, which gives us these positions that we've had, not just this year, but over the previous years as well. I believe that we've demonstrated as a council effective management and working within budgets. So what has changed in this budget, I was very pleased to see, was the forward planning of no longer relying on maintenance to keep things running, but recognising that certain things get to a point of being beyond economic repair. And these are now in a plan for moving forward and will be addressed each year as they arise. That's really important. Otherwise, we lose facilities. And that's a really important part of the budget that's going forward. We did make some changes at the F&G meeting. They were relatively minor. What's been discussed today has been around the minority of what this budget is. So I'd like to commend this budget to other councillors and to the people of Weymouth as being value for money for Weymouth for the services which we provide. Thank you.
Right, so we now move on to the vote. And the first recommendation is that full council approve the proposed February revenue budget 26-27 as set out in the report and its appendices with the following amendment, which was which commits to the review of the CE activities and spending within 9 months of the 14th of January. So can I ask all those in favour, please? 3, 4, 5, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Against? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Abstentions? 1.
Thank you for that. So that's part one is carried, Madam Mayor.
We now move on to the next recommendation that full council approve the precept for 26-27 of £4,375,270. It's been proposed and seconded, so can I ask all those in favour, please?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
Against?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Abstentions?
1.
Thank you.
So that is also carried. Thank you, Chair.
So can I add to the thanks that have already been said, and thank you to the officers, particularly Ian, Bill, and the other councillors who've worked so hard for all the work, the time they put into the preparation of budgets. It's been greatly appreciated. And on behalf of the council, thank you. So we now move on to the next item, item 10, which is the IT policy. May I ask Jane if she will introduce the report, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's not too much to add to the reports that you have in your agenda, councillors. This draft policy has been through Finance and Governance and it comes to you tonight recommended by that committee. This is a requirement that we need as a town council to meet the new obligations under assertion 10 in the audit process that is effective from now going forward. Although the town council does have a number of detailed policies in place, such as the data protection policy, privacy policy, freedom of information policy, it lacks a general overarching IT policy, and we need to demonstrate that we have that to meet the requirements for audit for the coming year. So the attached policy is Appendix D. It is based on best practice from other councils, as well as the draft templates available from both the Society of Local Council Clerks and the National Association of Local Councils. The council will be undergoing a data protection and governance review, which is being carried out by Breakthrough Communications in the next few months to ensure we are in the best place to meet the audit requirements and the best place to make sure that we remain an exemplar council who is ticking all the boxes. There may well be some further recommendations based on that work that will come forward, but we're at far too early a stage to say that. So for now, the only decision that is needed from you all is the agreement of the IT policy as recommended by Finance and Governance Committee. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Sybil.
Thank you very much. Having policies like an IT such as this is absolutely bread and butter, if you like, to organisations like ours. It's perfectly sensible. It's not unlike you asking if we'd like toast with our breakfast if we go away for a weekend. So it makes perfect sense. I'm very happy to propose it.
Thank you. Second, please, councillor Bell. Right, does anybody wish to make any comments or move to a vote? So can I ask all those in favour, please?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Oh, looking at unanimous. I can carry on past 16, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. So that has been passed. Right, we now move on to agenda item 11, the Weymouth Neighbourhood Plan Steering Group. Believe we'd like to.
Yes, happy to outline this, Madam Mayor. So those of you who were with us back in September 2023 will remember or recall the terms of reference for the Neighbourhood Plan Steering Group being agreed. It does fall to full council to set up working groups and steering groups in that way. And the purpose was to produce a sound neighbourhood plan for Weymouth that defines the planning policy priorities identified by the community, etc. Because this council set the group up, this item is just to close the loop on the governance of the Neighbourhood Plan Steering Group. As the work of the group has now concluded, it can be formally dissolved. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Would anybody like to make a comment?
Can I propose that, please?
Thank you. Anybody?
I'll second.
Second, thank you. Councillor Dickinson.
Yeah, in the paper, it says Councillor David Northam is preparing a guide. Is that appropriate because you sit on the Southwest Planning? So are you predetermining yourself? I'd just like to make sure that something doesn't come back and bite Mr. Northam. Councillor Northam, I beg your pardon.
Councillor Northam.
Thank you. I did ask that question before speaking to planning, but when I spoke to planning policy about the intention, because of the complexity of the plan, to try and produce a summary and a guide to the planning committee. And it's not a simple plan. It will be useful, and I hope to get that to the next planning and licensing meeting. I think its benefit will quickly be seen as the larger planning applications come forward. So the statement from the planning and licensing was that it didn't compromise me. This is a situation that takes place for many Dorset councillors there involved. And then this is adopted into policy, and yes, they know a lot about the plan and do speak about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak? Councillor Bowe?
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Obviously, this is our first full council since the plan was voted through on the referendum on the 8th of 11th, of December. And I think it's probably just fitting to add to this our thanks to all the residents that engaged with the neighbourhood plan and those that served actually on the steering group over the time. That varied. There was different councillors during two administrations and many different residents that took part and came and gone. So I think it's probably only correct at this point of closure that actually our thanks go to all those residents and all those involved. This was a community plan delivered by residents. And I think it's fitting that we acknowledge that and add our thanks to this recommendation.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak? So therefore, we move to the recommendation that the full council agree to dissolve the Weymouth Neighbourhood Plan Steering Group. What proposer? We've got them, have we? Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, so all those in favour?
That is unanimous, Chair. Thank you.
So councillor Hope stole my thunder here, but I was going to thank you, councillor Norton, very much indeed for the many, many hours that you put in on this group, and also to all of you and the other councillors that helped. Will you please pass on our thanks to them all? We were very grateful for all the work that was done. Thank you. So we now move on then to the information items. And we can take those as read. Are there any questions on that? No. So we now move on to item 13. So under the Public Bodies Admissions and Meetings Act 1960, members of the public and press are required to leave the meeting due to the sensitive nature of the item next to be considered relating to the relocation. So can I ask for a vote on that, please? Everybody in favour? Sorry, opposed first of all. Councillor Sybil and Councillor Bickford, which was a second. Could I ask you then to vote all for?
So that is unanimous, Chair. Thank you.
So I'd ask